Pros.
Welcome back to the Experience Pros Radio Show, home of positive business talk, and there's probably very little more positive than the stuff that we learned from a guy named Napoleon.
Napoleon Hill. I'll tell you what, this is my go-to the book Think and Grow Rich is my go-to audio book when I am traveling. Well, thanks to Penguin Publishing, they've got a new book coming out, a compilation of conversations that Napoleon Hill had with billionaire Andrew Carnegie in the brand new book called The Path to Personal Power. And we have the editor of the book, The Path to Personal Power, with us, Mitch Horowitz. Welcome to Experience Pros.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Okay. I am pretty excited to know that there is yet another book. I don't know how you guys keep doing it, finding all the good juiciness that Napoleon Hill has to offer and put it in a brand new book. Let's talk about The Path to Personal Power and what is in there that we didn't get from Think and Grow Rich.
Well, it's pretty remarkable. Napoleon Hill first wrote the book in 1941 on the eve of America's entry into World War II. And when the U.S. entered the war, the economy changed overnight. There was paper rationing and so on, and the book never got published. So we just discovered it very recently in connection with our partners at the Napoleon Hill Foundation. The book basically contains 3 steps that Napoleon Hill saw as the foundation to his entire program. It was sort of his Think and Grow Rich 911.
Oh, all right. Okay. So I am a big Think and Grow Rich fan. And so there's a couple lessons in here that are they in the book Think and Grow Rich, or are these like they were omitted from Think and Grow Rich?
No, they are in the book Think and Grow Rich, but he felt that these were the real gateway, the real key to the whole book.
Okay.
And they basically come down to 3 steps: having an absolutely passionate, almost obsessive personal aim, forming a mastermind group, or what we today would call a support group, and doing more and better work than what you are paid for. He felt that if you had time for only 3 of his steps, those were the 3 to go for.
Okay. Now say those again. Repeat those again so we get,
Sure
kind of get the juiciness of them.
Step 1 is having an absolutely passionate, even obsessive personal aim, something on which you would just be willing to stake your entire life. Step 2 is forming a mastermind group, which is really his word, his term for a support group, a group of like-minded people with whom you meet in a spirit of comity at regular intervals to support one another's plans. It can be as few as 2 people. And step 3 is constantly doing more and better work than what you are paid for, something that a lot of people think they do, but that really warrants personal reexamination, because Hill said it was actually a very rare thing.
So let's start in reverse order and tackle that elephant in the room right there. If we think that we're doing more than what we are receiving compensation for, but it is as rare as Napoleon Hill suggests that it might be, and I'm not one to disagree with that, how do we slap ourselves between the ears and say, hold on for a second, we really do need to rethink that?
Try to see what you're doing from the perspective of the end user. For example, if you're a home contractor, oh man, if you clean up after yourself, if you clean up the plaster from the bathroom floor, when the homeowner arrives home, after they're shocked, they'll be ecstatic and want to tell all their friends. Just imagine the experience of the end user. If you can do that and ask, what would I want to come home to? What would I want to receive? What would I want to find when I open the box? It's a small step, and it can make an enormous difference.
Oh, it is.
Said.
I know my husband's a contractor, and he just purchased a small little handy vacuum cleaner, to do just that. And I was so excited when I saw him bringing it home. And so it's really easy to look around at some of but so often, and I think this is where we get lazy, we start to cut corners, we take shortcuts, and it's one of those that, we think nobody will notice. But Mitch, how much do people notice?
It makes all the difference in the world. I've worked as a publisher for many years, and I can't tell you the number of books that I've already contracted that I've paid well for that come into me in manuscript form, and somebody hasn't numbered the pages, hasn't done a table of contents, hasn't included a cover sheet, hasn't included their references. They're cutting corners, and it does make a difference in your first impression of their work. It often makes a lasting impression.
It does. And if Napoleon Hill, this was something he was emphasizing so long ago.
Yeah.
These are such traditional principles.
The original release of
Yes.
The Path to Personal Power back in 1941, he was onto something way back when, and it's amazing the timelessness of his teachings. Let's talk a little bit about that passionate, almost obsessive connection. The feeling that what you're pursuing matters, right? That is so
Yes.
important.
Yes.
Where do we fall short in that? Is it that we fear that people will think that we are obsessed, or do we just lack the fire?
I think that we get into trouble when we assume that we already have a passionate personal aim. So often people hear that and they say, yeah, I get it. I already have an aim. I understand what my aim is, but we rarely subject that to self-scrutiny. And if we did, what we will often find is that we might have a collection of different aims, some of which may even be in direct conflict with one another, some of which may be at cross purposes to one another, or we may have a very vague, very general aim, something that's poorly defined. His point was you have to sit down in a really mature and scrutinizing manner and ask yourself, what do I care about more than anything else in the world? And I've used the term obsessive. We often think of that as a negative today, as even a pathology, something you have to diagnose and treat therapeutically. But he was very blunt on the matter, and he said if you look into the lives of people you really admire in whatever field they worked in, you will almost always find that they had one obsessive, single-minded aim.
All right, we're talking with Mitch Horowitz, a writer and publisher with a lifelong interest in a man's search for meaning. Love that you are with us again, Mitch. I know we've had you every time you Penguin Publishing brings out a new Napoleon Hill book. I'm so glad you feature it here on Experience Pros. Before we let you go, if we're going to take just one thing away from this book, what is it that you hope the readers will internalize?
The one thing I would take away is that we hear traditional wisdom and we think we get it, but traditional wisdom is so rarely applied. That's why it always sounds fresh and new. And the danger is thinking, I get it, I have an aim, or I do more work than I'm paid for. But scrutinize yourself, because Hill was convinced that the problem is not that we don't know these things. The problem is that we don't apply them.
We don't apply them, right? We do. We know what to do. We keep asking around, hoping we'll get a different answer. But at our very core, we really do have those answers inside of us. Mitch Horowitz, I know this came out from Penguin Random House, but you also have a website. You want our listeners to follow you at. Where do you recommend we send them?
Yes, they can follow me at mitchhorowitz.com. Just throw my name into Google. You'll find me. There's lots of articles, videos, and my own books are up there.
Good stuff. Mitch, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. The Path to Personal Power, written by Napoleon Hill and republished by our friend Mitch Horowitz. Great stuff. And gosh, you go through back here. One of the things I love about these books is there's an index of every thought or topic or whatnot, going the extra mile, harmony, preparation for relationships, self-promotion. I mean, it's got a topical index.
But Eric, I think so often we want it to be more complicated than it needs to be.
Right.
It's got to be, sexy. It's got to be fast. It's got to be technology.
What about tried and true?
And that's exactly what you get from the Napoleon Hill books, just the foundation, the classics that are going to carry you through. And if you haven't started with Think and Grow Rich, and that's not one on your go-to list, make sure you pick up a copy of that and then grab The Path to Personal Power and support Penguin Publishing. They send us a lot of books and authors our way. So happy to feature them here.
You bet. Good stuff all the way around.
Okay. So Jumpstart for Business.
Jumpstart for Business is a thing.
It is a thing. We've actually got another course getting ready to come up. But if you missed the first one, you can still grab the recording of that at jumpstartforbusiness.com. Make sure that you take care of that. Let's turn your slow months into your best months by discovering some untapped revenue.
We did the first one, which was the 7 steps to undiscovered revenue. And Angel, I'll be honest with you, we're our harshest critics, right? Mm-hmm. Best webinar, seminar, training I think that we have ever done.
Wow.
I really believe that. No, it's really impressive. And And I don't say that because there's a price tag associated with it. I say it because the engagement was amazing. The content was amazing. It's going to help you. We'll be back right after these messages. You're listening to Angel and Eric on the Experience Pros Network.
The Experience Pros, revolutionizing the way people treat people in business.
KDMT, Denver's Money Talk, 1690 AM.
Hi, it's Eric and Angel. Are your kiddos growing out of their clothes too fast? Clean out their closets and bring their gently used items to Kid in North Glen. They're a friendly new resale shop where you'll find all your favorite kids' brands.
Choose from Gap, Children's Place, H&M, Janie and Jack, Old Navy, Carter's, and more. They're all under one roof and up to 80% off mall prices. Stop buying expensive